So we start off with the face off, and Rock Lee drops down and he's already posing. Bro will literally hit that pose on his deathbed. And then Gaara's over here mean mugging like, bro, you can let go of the face now, nobody's running away. And then Conqueror's over here doing what he does best, glaze Gaara. Nigga over here talking about some, well actually Gaara's never lost a fight in his life. And I'm like, bro, if all you're gonna do with your screen time is glaze Gaara, then give it to me. Let me go give it to somebody who actually needs it, like Neji or Tenten, or anybody on that team. So then we cut back to them and it's finally go time. So the announcer says go and Lee charges in with a Leaf Hurricane. But that shit gets blocked immediately and this nigga Gaara is still trying to scare off Lee with his death stare. And Gaara's just sitting there spamming his auto sand defense and bro is moving like Kareem, straight getting 38,000 points off of one move. And then Gaara says, man, fuck all this defense shit, let me go on offense. So he gets his sand to grab Lee by the leg and just twirls him around and slams him into the wall. And you see, this is why Lee is the GOAT, right back at it, no fear. I mean, he's not hitting anything, but he just like Isaiah Thomas for real. It's the heart that counts. And Lee is using his whole arsenal of punches and kicks just to hit straight air. I low-key feel bad for bro. So he starts doing backflips and he somehow trips on the sand. Like, what? Everybody thinks that it's all over. Gaara done won the fight. He covered Lee in sand, but Lee is coming out still spamming them backflips. And Lee starts standing on this thing thinking he's Spider-Man. Like, bro, you don't need to save New York from Dr. Octopus, bro. You can let go of the pose now. And then Guy does this go for it ass thumbs up to let Lee know that he can take the weights off. And Lee just does not care about his life because he was wearing weights this whole time when he was fighting Gaara, this crazy psychotic ass nigga. So Lee takes the weights off and I'm thinking, maybe 10, 15 pounds shouldn't really make a difference. And Tamari's thinking the same thing, straight talking about some, you think dropping a couple of pounds of weight is gonna be enough to beat Gaara? But he drops them shits and them shits go boom. And I'm like, nah, he was wearing that much weight while fighting. And Gaara looks unfazed, but that look changes real quick cause Lee's on his ass. And what is bro cocking his arm back so much for? Just hit the nigga. And Lee is not letting Gaara rest, talking about some, nah, I'm over here, nah, I'm over here. And Lee is on Gaara's ass so bad that his animation quality went down. And Gaara looks absolutely perplexed, like, nigga, you never been hit before? And Sakura's questioning why she picked Sasuke over Lee, cause Sasuke was having problems defeating a random Sound Village NPC, and Lee is over here putting in work against the #1 prospect. And Lee does a bunch of front flips into a kick and has Gaara admiring the ground. And Lee slides back posing again, but me personally, I would have kept the pressure on him, kept hitting his ass. So Lee rushes him again and Gaara is still trying to spam that sand. Like, bro, do you not have any other moves? And Lee just keeps playing Ring Around the Rosie around Gaara and then he just punches him. And that punch was personal, he literally put his back into it. And Gaara lost all his street cred after this. I know damn well if Gaara tried to talk shit to anybody after this, they would just bring up this picture. But this nigga Gaara gets back up and starts making this crazy ass face. And me personally, if a nigga starts making a face like this after getting done like this, I'm running, I'm out of there. And when the camera starts slowly panning up to show somebody, you know they're about to do some him-worthy shit. So Guy tells Lee to unwrap the bandages. And at first, I'm like, what the fuck is that gonna do? But he shut the haters up real fast, cause he took those bandages off and started going crazy. Cause Lee starts moving at Mach 12 speeds around Gaara. Then he starts the combo of the century, kicks Gaara up into the air, and says, hold up, little bro, I'm coming up there. And then Lee kicks Gaara up to max height. And then Guy starts praying that Lee doesn't lose in his jumpsuit. And Lee ties up Gaara and starts looking at him from behind like Tyrone after you just dropped the soap in jail. And then he starts spinning him around and just slams him into the ground. And then the smoke clears and it's actually starting to look like Rock Lee won the fight. Gaara's knocked out on the ground. And Lee actually starts to think this too. He's gassing himself up. And then the camera pans to Gaara looking like this. So as a viewer, I'm thinking it's done for. But it turns out Gaara done bamboozled us. He's not dead at all. It was just a shell. So it turns out sometime during the ass whooping, he slipped out of his body, turned himself into a shell, and that's how he's alive right now. And then Gaara comes from behind Lee and says, it's my turn to be Tyrone now, nigga. Go ahead, pick up the soap. And then Gaara uses his sand to knock back Lee. And then Gaara starts to lick his lips, and this is when Lee should have called it quits, because only the crazy psychotic ass niggas lick their lips in anime. And this is why Lee is the king of standing 10 toes. He's right back up, ready to box. And then Lee starts moving, trying to get closer to Gaara, and this is why Lee is the GOAT for real, bro. Because if that was me, I'm doing everything in my power to get as far away from Gaara as I possibly can. And then we start to find out why Lee is so confident. Besides the fact that he's just a standing on business type of nigga, he has this technique called the 8 gates. And I'm not gonna explain this shit, just know it gives him enough power to fuck up Gaara. And then Lee starts to power up, and Kishimoto, you are not slick. I see what you're doing. You're literally just copying Super Saiyan. And then Lee wastes no time. He's on him. And then Lee kicks Gaara up into the air, and Gaara is starting to have PTSD from the last time he was up here. And then Gaara turns around just to see Lee, and Lee is just on his ass. Gaara's not even getting a chance to take a breath. Then Lee starts to spaz out. His body can't handle it anymore. And then he sees Gaara falling down, and he takes that as him trying to run. So he says, get your ass back here, nigga. And then Lee grabs Gaara and just punches the dog shit out of this nigga. And then the smoke clears, and it looks like Rock Lee won the fight. I mean, he's knocked out too, but at least it looks like he won. And then we find out that Gaara is still alive. And like, bro, Kishimoto, can you just let my nigga have the win? Like, damn, he's pretty much non-existent in shit, but then at least let him have this. And nah, look at how they got my GOAT, bruh, on all fours. This shit is not fair. And then Gaara uses his sand to grab Lee by the foot, and he says, die, nigga. And he just crushes Lee's entire body, bro. And nah, free my nigga, bro. Kishimoto holding him. He should have won this shit. And then Lee is knocked out on the ground, and Gaara tries to kill him. And then Mike God comes in to stop the fight, because if he doesn't, Lee is gonna die. And this right here is why Rock Lee is the GOAT of standing on business. This nigga still wants to run his ones. He even manages to shock a fellow standing on business nigga like Kakashi. And then Naruto jumps from the watching area, and him and Gaara give each other this mean side eye as to let each other know that the next time they see each other, shit is not gonna be sweet. Yeah, that was the video, man. If y'all enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and do all that. And if my like voice tone sounds different like during the video, like it sounds different from one part to another, it's because I recorded this video on separate days. So like some of the recordings may be like right after I just woke up, and some recordings might be like in the middle of the day, and other recordings might be like right before I go to sleep. So like if the tone of my voice changes like during the video, that's why. But yeah, I love y'all, man. Stay blessed, be safe, man. And without further ado, I'm resting on one, and I'm out. See y'all.